This is your Week 12 college football recap with guys at the bar talking sports.
What? Are you doing season 2 of that stupid show?
Honey, where are you going?
Where are you going?
Again? Just where are you going?
Where are you going? You're not going to the bar again, are you?
You like hanging out, drinking beer at the bar, talking sports? Come on out and join us weekly. Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, your podcast for just that. Hanging out, drinking some beer, talking sports. Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for joining. This is your boy Hanger from Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, giving you guys your Week 12 college football wrap-up, giving you all of the highlights and some of the all of the scores and some of the highlights, anyway, of the Week 12 matchups that we had in the top 25 teams. I am following the top 25 as related by the playoff committee. So if you're looking at it and you're like, hey, where's this team at? It's because I'm not going by the coaches poll or the AP poll. I'm going by the college playoff football committee because really that's the only one that really matters at this point, right? So let's hop right into it. Number 25, Mississippi State had a one-sided game against Tennessee State, leading the entire game and putting up points with no problems. Quarterback Will Rogers broke Dak Prescott's record, their single-season school passing and touchdown record, in their 55-10 win. They'll face in-state rival Ole Miss next week. Number 24, Houston easily beat Memphis 31-13. This might be the most underrated 10-1 team right now. They are 17th in the AP poll, by the way. Maybe the only way to get respect is to beat Cincinnati in that AAC championship game, which is in a few weeks. Number 22, UTSA remains undefeated as they host UAB and win 34-31. UTSA's quarterback threw for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns and had a literally last second passing touchdown to win that game. They'll wrap up their regular season next week playing North Texas. The probably reason why they're not in the top 10 being undefeated is just because they play a bunch of teams like North Texas. Number 20, NC State played Syracuse and had no struggle at all, putting up 28 points in the first half and closing the game 41-17. Even if Wake Forest loses next week, the Wolfpack have no chance to play in Atlanta, though. They close out their season against Boston College next week. Number 19, San Diego State struggled against the 2-9 UNLV on Friday night. They did win, though, 28-20 and stay at one loss at 10-1. Number 18, Pitt, at 8-2, faced Virginia, who scored first and kept pace through halftime, going into the locker room with a score of 24-21. Pitt pulled away in the second half and won 48-38. Pitt leads the ACC Coastal and will be playing in Charlotte with a win against Syracuse next week. Number 17, Iowa Hawkeyes go to 9-2 after playing Illinois and winning 33-23. They still do have a shot at the Big Ten championship game if they win next week against Nebraska, and, of course, if Wisconsin loses. Number 16, Texas A&M had no problem with their schedule this week and no chance for an upset, controlling the game against Prairie View 52-3. I didn't even look up where Prairie View is at, so Texas A&M expected to win that game, of course. They face LSU to close their regular season next week. Number 15, Wisconsin went against Nebraska in a shootout between two Big Ten West opponents. Nebraska, with a 3-7 record, is likely to be the best 3-7 team around. Just a little side note there. All 7 losses that they had were within 7 points except for one of them. So interesting, but Wisconsin ends up winning 35-28 with a last-minute stop against Nebraska, who was basically in the red zone by the time they were about to score. Wisconsin's able to hold off against Nebraska. Number 14, BYU is 9-2 after going to Georgia, not to play the Bulldogs, but to play Georgia Southern. The Cougars were only up by 3 at the half, but shut out Georgia Southern in the second half and win 34-17. Number 13, Oklahoma goes to 10-1 after beating Iowa State, who was able to score first but not again until the fourth quarter. Oklahoma gets 7 points each quarter and wins 28-21. The Sooners will have their hands full next week when they face number 9 Oklahoma State, and possibly the most important meeting between these two in-state rivals in the program's history. This game can actually, if things go right for them, decide who is going to be in the top 4 and make the playoff, which those are pretty unlikely scenarios right now, but Oklahoma State is playing some beast football, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a few seconds. Number 12, Ole Miss went up 24-9 at the halftime against Vanderbilt, who is last in the SEC, just ahead of Florida, by the way. Ole Miss would struggle the second half, though putting up just one touchdown, but held on to defeat Vandy 31-17. Matt Corral, still a Heisman hopeful, threw for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. Number 11, Baylor beats Kansas State 20-10. Baylor is third in the Big 12 and are only getting into the Big 12 championship if they win next week against Texas Tech. And if Oklahoma loses to Oklahoma State. The way I see it, this is a strong possibility, though. Number 10, Wake Forest had a tough loss to Clemson and are now 9-2. Clemson is way better than now than they were in the beginning of the season, I am pretty sure. Most likely Wake Forest will end up in the ACC championship, though. Clemson, now 8-3, is starting to come around late in the season, like I said, beating a top 10 opponent 48-27. Death Valley was probably exploding after that game. Number 9, Oklahoma State may have found a defense in the Big 12, only giving up 23 points in the last 4 games. Blowing out Texas Tech yesterday 23-0. They are now 10-1 and face in-state rival Oklahoma next week. As I said earlier, with that top 25 win, they might be in consideration for a playoff berth if they win that championship game as well. And the championship game will either be against Baylor or again against Oklahoma. Number 8, Number 8, Notre Dame took a 24-0 lead early against Georgia Tech, going into the locker room at halftime, winning 45-0. Georgia Tech was unable to score at all, and Notre Dame wins 55-0. Notre Dame is definitely looking for a spot in that top 4 with these wins like that. Number 6, Michigan needs to win out in order to get where they want to be, the Big Ten championship game. Playing this week may be a little preparation for what's going to be coming next week against Ohio State. But I don't know that that's much preparation when you're playing Maryland, but they did win 59-18. The Wolverines are certainly capable of beating Ohio State, and all eyes will be on that matchup next week for sure. Number 5, Cincinnati played SMU, which was a game that many thought could be an upset. SMU started the season strong, but has shown some weakness in the last 3 weeks. Cincinnati, on the other hand, is looking for solid wins, which may have been lacking the last 4 weeks, but the game turned the corner for them. Turned the corner for them, and they win 48-14. Nice solid win against a formidable foe. Cincinnati faces a very capable East Carolina team next week before heading to play in a top 25 matchup against Houston December 4th in the AAC championship. Number 4, Ohio State just shocked the world this weekend, destroying number 7, Michigan State, in the first half and getting a definitive top 10 win, 56-7. Defensively, the Buckeyes were able to hold Kenneth Walker III to just 24 yards. That's insane. While the offense was just dominated the Spartans' defense. C.J. Stroud may have put an exclamation point on the road to his Heisman with 6 touchdown passes, 432 yards in the air, and he was 32 for 35. Ohio State still has to play Michigan and then either Iowa or Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship to solidify that spot in that top 4. But if they win out, they're in. Same thing with Michigan, though. If they win out, they're in too. Number 3, Oregon played number 23, Utah, and just got manhandled by the Utes. There was nothing nice for Oregon in this game. Utah scored 28 points in the first half, making Oregon look way less likely like a top 4 team. Oregon falls to 9-2 and is now clearly out of the running for the playoff. Utah for the convincing upset 38-7. It was all rushing for Utah with Tavion Thomas running for 3 touchdowns and 94 yards. I think the biggest question with this upset is who's going to replace number 4 that replaced Oregon in that top 4 because Oregon was ranked number 3 at the time. Number 2, Alabama faced off against number 21, Arkansas, who came in to fight the good fight against the number 2 team in the nation. Alabama is showing some vulnerability from time to time, and this game was one of those times. The Crimson Tide went into halftime with a lead 24-14, but were outscored by the Razorbacks in the second half and nearly found themselves in an upset situation, but managed to hold on and win 42-35. Bryce Young had a spectacular day and is trying to make sure that C.J. Stroud does not have that Heisman, apparently. Bryce Young throws for 559 yards to break the Tide's single game passing record, and also threw for 5 touchdown passes. Absolutely insane. Heisman, anybody? Most likely. It's actually only between C.J. Stroud and him at this point. Number 1, Georgia plays Charleston Southern in a game that they absolutely could not lose. Literally 100% chance to win. Charleston Southern, tiny school over in Charleston, South Carolina. Georgia wins with no problem, 56-7. Georgia has only had 80 points scored on them in 11 games this season. While they have had a relatively easy schedule this season, in my opinion, Georgia has solidified their spot in the top 4. Even if they lost to Alabama, I'm pretty sure, or lost to Alabama in the SEC championship, I'm pretty sure they're still in that top 4 position. You would pretty much assume that's the case. Now, I do appreciate those that join the show every week. We do 3 shows a week. I do the NFL recap, I do the college football recap, and then we have our show at MJ's Bar and Grill, where we do talk live in front of the entire bar. Obviously, no one's paying attention to us, but we do record it, and then we go ahead and publish it. And hopefully enjoy those shows as well. Keep on coming back every week, though, so that we can so you can hear more guys at the bar talking sports. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, man, how can I help these guys out? Well, first thing you can do, subscribe to the show. By subscribing to the show, you'll be able to hear it every single week on your favorite podcatcher. Second thing you do, if your podcatcher lets you do it, give it a review and 5 stars. I know Apple Podcasts will allow you to do that. So give it 5 stars and a review. And then the third thing you do is hop on Facebook, type in Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. You'll see our group there. Join it. You'll love it. Best sports group on Facebook, guaranteed. Lots of good stuff going on in there, so check it out. And then come back next week for Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. It's your boy Hanger looking for a beer. Actually, we're all looking for a beer, so if you want to buy the guys a beer, at Guys at the Bar Talking Sports on Venmo. That's it. Easy as drinking a beer.